Lydia Pesek. I'm the lead organizer for Iowa Youth Climate Strike. Thank you all for joining us here today. We had our first strike here at the Capitol on March 15th, and today is our fourth strike. There have also been strikes in Iowa City, Ames, Cedar Rapids, and Muscatine. I am here striking today because we need action now. Across the planet, we are seeing the effects of the climate crisis. This March, I was shocked when I saw the farm just west of Omaha, where my father was raised and my grandparents spent over 40 years of their marriage, on the front page of national newspapers and social media sites. Their farmhouse, the fields, and all of the outbuildings, and even the highway running by it were submerged by floodwaters. Nothing like this has happened in all the years they lived on the farm. Local leaders have been responsive, but they have not been proactive in this fight. Bernie Sanders will act now. Extreme weather events such as catastrophic flooding in the Midwest, wildfires raging across California, and intense hurricanes such as Hurricane Maria, which devastated Puerto Rico, are becoming more and more normal. We must address climate change while we have a fighting chance. In May, we were on a mission to get all presidential candidates to agree to have a climate debate. When I unexpectedly ran into Bernie Sanders at the farmers market and met him for the first time, I asked him if he would agree to support a climate debate, and with no hesitation, he agreed. Bernie Sanders will act now. Youth from Sweden, Australia to South Africa, and yes, even in Des Moines, Iowa, have been striking to bring awareness to the existential crisis and demand that our local, state, and national leaders wake up and take action. We have had some success in bringing awareness to the existential emergency that our Earth is facing, but awareness is not enough. Bernie Sanders will act now. I am honored to introduce one of the greatest champions in the fight against climate change in our country. We knew that in the White House, Bernie Sanders will stand with us in the entire global climate movement, because he always has. Just this fall, he held a climate summit at Drake University, and he has one of the most comprehensive climate plans to take immediate action to address climate change out of any candidate. Please welcome Senator Bernie Sanders.
Lydia, thank you for the introduction, and let me thank all of you for being here today, and more importantly, understanding what the President of the United States does not understand. And that is that climate change is not a hoax, but climate change is a terrible, terrible reality impacting our country and the entire world today. Not tomorrow, but today. And the bad news is that what the scientists have told us is that they have underestimated the severity and the degree to which climate change is ravaging our country and the entire world. And what they have told us, and unlike the President of the United States, we listen to science. We observe with our eyes what is happening all over this country. And we know that if we're going to save this planet, if we're going to make sure that this planet is healthy and habitable for you and your kids and future generations, we have got to take on the fossil fuel industry. And we have got to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. So the very bad news and the scary news is that we do face a global existential crisis. That's the bad news. But let me tell you the good news is that we can address this crisis if we have the courage to stand up to greedy and powerful special interests And today we tell the fossil fuel industry that their short-term profits are not more important than the future of our planet. I am very proud to have introduced the most sweeping and comprehensive climate change plan ever introduced by any candidate running for president. And essentially all that we have done is listen to the scientists. That's what we have done. And I want to say this very clearly, is that any politician out there who is telling people in his or her own state or the country that climate change is not real, or that it is not caused by human activity, or we really don't know the implications of climate change, those people are doing a horrific disservice to their own kids and to children to come. If you love this country, you love the children. And if you love the children, we've got to stand up to the fossil fuel industry and save this planet from the ravages of climate change. Now, Lydia has already told you some of what's going on, and I think you all know this. You all know that the polar ice caps are melting and the ocean is getting warmer. That means that we are seeing unprecedented levels of rising sea level. And that means that coastal communities, including major cities in our country and around the world, will be underwater at the end of the century. We are seeing, as a result of drought, terrible wildfires in California, in Australia, which are burning right now. I was in Paradise, California, a number of months ago. You all remember Paradise? It's a beautiful, small community. It was almost wiped out by a forest fire because of the drought that has taken place in the west coast of this country. You're seeing planting seasons decline and harvests decline because farmers cannot grow crops when their fields are underwater or when they have drought. So we're looking not only in Iowa, not only in the Midwest, not only in America, we're looking all over the world about a serious crisis regarding food production. Millions and millions of people get their protein from the oceans and from fish. And what we're seeing is fish in decline. We're seeing fish move to colder waters and major fishing areas around the world, whether it is Iceland or Angola, losing their industry. That's the bad news. But here is the good news. If we have the courage to take on the fossil fuel industry and other special interests, if we have the courage to pass a Green New Deal, we can create up to 20 million good-paying jobs transforming our energy system. And right here in Iowa, you should be proud that your state is one of the leaders in terms of wind energy. You're getting about a third of your electricity from wind. That's great. We're seeing that in other states. But we need to invest very, very heavily in sustainable energies like solar and wind. We need to retrofit older buildings in Iowa and in Vermont, which will save people money on their fuel bills and certainly cut back on carbon emissions. We need to transform our energy, our transportation system away from fossil fuel. So when we do all of those things, when we have the political will to stand up to the fossil fuel industry, we in the United States can lead the world. This is not just an American issue. You all know that. It is a global issue. So let me conclude by saying this. This is a moment in history where we have got to think big because the crises we face are big crises. And as President of the United States, I'm not going to tell you that climate change is a hoax. I'm not going to deny the reality of climate change. We are going to lead the world in transforming the global energy system. And maybe, just maybe, when we think big, maybe, when young people all over the world, not just here in Iowa or in the United States, but we're seeing young people all over the world telling their leaders, hey, we want a planet that we can grow up in and have kids in that is healthy and inhabitable. And maybe when that global movement spreads, maybe, just maybe, we can tell world leaders all over the planet that instead of spending $1.8 trillion a year on weapons of destruction designed to kill each other, maybe we can pool our resources and combat our common enemy, which is climate change. So I want to thank all of you for being here, and especially the young people. You are leading the effort in the United States and around the world. You're fighting for a planet that is healthy and is habitable, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Thank you all.
Okay, we can give one final round of applause to Bernie. And our next speaker will be Isabelle Brace. Isabelle is the co-state lead and the press lead for Iowa Climate Strike. She got into the climate movement because her grandpa inspired her from a young age, and she's passionate about human rights, which can only be achieved through climate action. Please welcome Isabelle.
Big act to follow up, but here we go. My great-grandmother died recently. I was named after her, Winifred. She was a powerhouse. She brought my family to America and raised that family beautifully. As she started to grow older and I realized she would soon leave this earth, I thought of how much I wanted her to be proud of me. Not just of me, but of my generation. I carried her name with me, and I so desperately want to do that with the grace and strength she did. The things her generation persevered through, the Great Depression, World War II, they fought to survive and overcome. I often focus on future generations, the future I want to secure for them. But we need to think of the people who have fought again and again for us. This is not just a battle for my future or yours or ours, it's for our past, for humanity, for every great thing people have done, to not let it be destroyed and scattered forever, with no one left to remember the great things we did, the movements like this people died for. That's why I'm here. I fight with Iowa Climate Strike. I fight with my co-lead, Lydia, for us all. For my great-grandma and for us. We fight for our futures, for comprehensive legislation, climate education in schools, science-based action. We need to stop new fossil fuel infrastructure and fight for secure jobs for people currently working for fossil fuel companies. We must rejoin the Paris Climate Accord and elect just climate champions into all offices. I am consumed by the urge to make humanity proud, to make my mom and my stepdad and my grandpa and my grandma and my great-grandma, my uncle, and each and every one of you proud. I think of all that people have done to secure my future, and I need to pay it back. We need to pay it back. We don't only owe it to ourselves and to the children of our earth, we owe it to our parents and to the ones who have been fighting tooth and nail to allow us to be here, fighting tooth and nail. And while it may have been the adults of generations present and past who got us into this crisis, we must get us out of it. Not just as youth or as activists, but as people who owe something to ourselves. It begs the question of, what do we owe to each other? We certainly owe each other compassion and kindness, but we also owe ourselves a future. I do not intend to stand up here as a beacon of hope or as a pillar to represent our future. I stand here as an equal. I stand here as an equal who has heard the same lies and false promises of people looking for fame and profit, using climate change as a political ploy. I stand here as an equal begging you to act. And if you refuse to see me as an equal, see me as your child. See the young people in this crowd as our future. If they won't push you to action, think of your mother and your father. Think of humanity. We are all in the same boat and a stormy sea, and we owe each other a terrible loyalty. G.K. Chesterton. We are in this together to protect our future, to honor our past, to right the wrongs of that past. We have destroyed our earth. It is time to right that wrong. We are not in the eye of the hurricane. We are the eye of the hurricane. We are all powerful. We hold our future in our hands. We have disrupted the sea, and we are in the middle of a disaster we have put upon ourselves. At this moment, we do not know exactly what is coming. No one does. We know there will be destruction and that it will be our end. That is for certain. All we have is what we owe to each other. We owe each other loyalty until the end. Loyalty to defending our future, defining that future. These are the moments that we will look back on. The history books will analyze. What were they thinking? How could they let such atrocities happen? How could they sit by and let our earth be destroyed by climate change? How could they not stop the destruction when they had the power to? Or maybe they will look back on this as another movement. A movement that secured them their lives and allowed them to keep fighting. We are in the eye of the hurricane, surrounded by white noise, waiting for people to act, waiting for us to act. Will we be on the right side of history? Will you hide in your homes and board up the shutters? Or will you stand up and use the power you hold in your hands, in your words, in your actions at this very moment and use it? They say birds sing when a storm has passed. Will you fight so that we may join them in their song, or will you let this storm overtake everything we know and love? We are the eye of the hurricane. This is the moment that defines everything. Will you be on the right side of history?
All right, our next speaker is going to be Wally. Wally is a field organizer with the Sunrise Movement. He was raised in Florida and is in this fight to win the Green New Deal. He got involved because he knows what climate change will do to his state and what it will do to frontline communities.
You bitch. Hello. At 21 years old, Fred Hampton was assassinated by the United States government in an illegal attempt to stop the momentum of the Black Power struggle. Wednesday, he would have been 50. Rest in power, King. This one's for you. At a very young age, the only truth I knew to be self-evident was that people in this world are not created equal. So when I was writing the speech, I struggled to find the words to say today. I didn't quite know what to say, but I fell on this question. Did it really take the world being on fire for us to start caring? Did it really take science to say that we only have 11 years to get a Green New Deal when people of color have been under the thumb of oppression since the freaking Mayflower? For those who are new to activism, welcome. For the OGs, allow me to reintroduce the problem. Corporations and a handful of extremely rich people are buying out politicians. We need a Green New Deal. All these other watered-down ideas are a waste of time. We need transformation. This isn't just about saving our planet. When my people from the LGBT community are facing persecution, this isn't just about saving the planet when women's reproductive rights are under attack, when people can't vote, when people can't get health care, when people can't pay for college, when there are wars around the world, when there's occupation in the West Bank. I can no longer live in a world of apathy on the part of our government. This world is on fire. The Green New Deal is about liberation. It's about fighting for a world that we should be living in, but was stolen from us from rich and greedy people. And if you are a young person who cares and dares to dream about a world, a better future for our generation, you should join the Sunrise Movement. Sunrise Movement is, to me, a family. We're out here trying to fight against years and years, decades of oppression, and we're fighting against like the most powerful people in the world. I got involved in this movement because I knew that our generation is facing some really, really, really deep shit. Right? And for me, it's not just about climate. In Florida, when Trayvon Martin got killed, that was the defining moment in my life. To know that someone could walk down the street and get murdered and nothing happens. No indictment, nothing. So, and it's not just Trayvon. It's Mike Brown, it's Alton Sterling, it's Sandra Bland, it's all of the other people who got unjustly shot down. So for me, the Green New Deal is a radical transformation in our society where we start actually caring about our loved ones, our neighbors. Bernie Sanders just spoke. I love Bernie Sanders. But we have to realize that Bernie isn't going to save us. It's going to take all of us. All we have is each other. We have to be united because there's no community without unity. We have to be united in this fight. That's the only way we're going to win real transformation in society. So, like I said before, the world is on fire. We need to start taking not just climate seriously, but all the other issues, because all of this is intersectional. And we need to remember that. So, thank you. Join the Sunrise Movement if you're young. We're going to fight for a Green New Deal. We're going to fight for liberation of all people. And just remember, if you don't stand for nothing, you're going to die. Well, that doesn't, my bad. Take two. You got to stand for something or you die for nothing. So, thank you.
Good job. All right, our final speaker will be Mona. Mona is a 23-year-old Palestinian American. She's a full-time field organizer with the Sunrise Movement here in Des Moines. And she's striking today for communities of color who are disproportionately affected by the impacts of the climate movement.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here today. My name is Mona Apari, and I am a 23-year-old Palestinian American. I am protesting today because people like me are disproportionately affected by the impacts of climate change. My vote isn't enough to bring about the change needed to address the deep economic and racial injustices in this country. I can't trust the political establishment who has been asleep at the wheel to fight for my future or to fight for my human right to clean air, drinkable water, a livable wage, and an equal opportunity at life. For years, a greedy few have been knowingly destroying the planet for short-term profit. These same greedy few have also profited off of our exploitation, our pain, and our struggle for far too long. They have pitted us against each other along racial and economic lines to enrich themselves at our future's expense. If we don't come together and act, business as usual will carry on. Exploitation will carry on. Disparity will carry on. The senseless and unjust destruction of our planet, our homes, our families, and indigenous communities will carry on. I refuse to carry on with business as usual. I I am protesting today because without young people like us disrupting business as usual, for politicians like Representative Sydney Axney, one day soon we will wake up to a world where fires that can't be put out, with flood rains that will not stop, with slaves that can't be freed, with hopelessness that cannot be beaten back. I am protesting today because we need a Green New Deal. A necessary policy and investment that isn't just about transitioning off of fossil fuels or building sustainable infrastructure. The decade of the Green New Deal is our opportunity to reinvent and reimagine society as we know it. Let us take this opportunity to put an end to the foreign imperialistic wars that bring us economic downturns here at home. Let us take this opportunity to put an end to the unrelenting and innocent killings of Palestinians. Let us take this opportunity to change the way we treat our neighbors, to change the way we treat farmers, change the way we treat indigenous communities, change the way we treat communities of color, change the way we treat LGBTQ plus youth, and change the way we treat each other. We must come together to overcome the greedy forces that divide us. We must invest in each other as if we're investing in ourselves. We get more done together than we do alone. When we work towards true altruism and solidarity among our peers, neighbors, brothers, sisters, and future generations, we in turn will produce a better world that is safe and just for all walks of life. Thank you. All right, so it's cold. Let's get moving. We are going to march and pay a visit to Sydney Axney's office. Do you want to?
Hello everyone, my name is Michaelin. I use she, her pronouns. We know that it's really inspiring to be here together today, to listen to these speeches and know that we're standing on the right side of history. But we also know that this is not enough to win a Green New Deal. We know